And I have to say, this is, well, it's probably one of the most eclectic and frankly mind-bending mix of documents we've ever assembled for a single topic.
Oh, absolutely. It's quite the collection.
Yeah, we're looking at everything from heavily redacted corporate LLC filings out of Missouri, highly fragmented discographies across Spotify and Bandcamp, YouTube video transcripts, and I kid you not, a live, functioning, heavily stylized dashboard for an AI-run record label.
Right. And usually, when we look at an independent artist profile, we see a standard press kit, maybe a neat list of tour dates, some social media metrics.
Yeah, the usual stuff.
Exactly. What makes this stack of sources so incredibly unique is the sheer juxtaposition of the elements. On one hand, you have this unbridled, almost chaotic artistic expression that feels, honestly, completely untethered from reality. But right beneath that, supporting it all like a steel foundation, are highly structured, incredibly rigid business frameworks and cutting-edge autonomous technological systems.
It really is a study in contrast. We are looking at the bizarre, brilliant, and completely modern ecosystem of an independent music project called Blue Turban Stone.
That's right.
Our mission today is to uncover how a single creative mind is blending psychedelic, dystopian music with strict corporate law and autonomous artificial intelligence. I mean, imagine you're trying to get your own side hustle off the ground.
It's exhausting.
Right. You're probably exhausted just managing an Instagram account and a basic spreadsheet. Well, if you've ever struggled to organize your digital life or monetize a passion project, you are going to be completely fascinated by how this operation actually works. Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with the human at the center of this massive universe.
That is the perfect place to begin. At the core of Blue Turban Stone is a single creator named Mark Wood. He operates out of Kailua Kona, Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah, and the sources describe him as a literal one-man band, which is a term we hear a lot, but here it is meant in the truest sense. He is handling all the vocals, playing the bass guitar, shredding on the lead guitars, and keeping the beat on the drums. It is entirely his sonic vision from the ground up.
And what a vision it is. The aesthetic is wild. The sources describe the music as a blend of psychedelic, funk, soul, rock, and something called hip-hop abstract.
Hip-hop abstract, yeah.
And it's all layered with this heavy recurring theme of dystopian prophecy. But the genre bending isn't even the most surprising part. When we talk about his output, we are not talking about a casual hobbyist who uploads a track every few months.
No, not at all.
According to the Reverb Nation profile in our sources, there are over 1,400 of his songs available on that platform alone. 1,400.
It's unbelievable.
If you wrote and recorded a song every single week, it would take you almost 27 years to hit that number.
It is a staggering volume of work for one human being. And what's fascinating here is how deliberate, or perhaps accidental, though it feels incredibly purposeful, the fragmentation of this massive catalog is across the digital landscape.
Right.
When you look at how his music is distributed to the public, it becomes this giant discography puzzle that almost defies modern conventions.
But to get into that puzzle, because managing 1,400 songs across a dozen platforms manually, I mean, that would be like trying to organize a library where someone just dumps a new box of books on the floor every single hour.
That is a great analogy.
The way streaming services handle Blue Turban Stone is completely different depending on where you look.
It is, and it gets to the heart of how algorithms function. Modern music streaming algorithms, like the ones powering Spotify or Apple Music, they are built for a traditional, standardized release schedule.
They want predictability.
Exactly. They expect an artist to drop a primary album every 2 years, maybe release a few singles or EPs, which are just short, multi-track releases in between to maintain momentum. They like neat, predictable boxes. Mark Wood's prolific, non-traditional output breaks that mold completely.
So the algorithm basically just throws its hands up.
Yeah.
Because on Spotify and Apple Music, his catalog looks like a massive dump of loose singles and EPs. You'll see tracks like Tears of Gaza or Hafifa just listed generically as 2023 singles.
Right.
But then you jump over to a platform like Bandcamp, and it's a totally different story.
Precisely. On Bandcamp, which is traditionally more artist-controlled, there is an absolute flood of full album releases. And weirdly, a huge chunk of them are stamped with a release date of December 2025.
Which hasn't even happened yet.
Right. Because there isn't one single official discography list published anywhere, you, as the listener, are essentially forced to become a digital archaeologist. You have to piece together his creative errors yourself.
Yeah, you might find mentions of a primary album called Mushroom Revelation on Spotify, but to get the full picture, you have to cross-reference that with regional international services like Boomplay, to find related mini-releases like the Last Days set.
It really is like digging for artifacts.
And the artifacts themselves of the track and album titles are just incredible. I have to read some of these off because they perfectly capture that psychedelic, dystopian funk vibe.
Please do.
So on Bandcamp, you've got albums titled Ghetto Modern Magi, left on Peyote BLVD and Troubled Prophets.
Wow.
Then over on the streaming side, you have singles named I'll Be Yo Scooby-Doo, Pimpin' Particle Theory, Tweet the Plant Scale, Kiss the AI Ring or Play Guitar, and the AI Pope Entrance Suite. I mean, you can practically hear the music just by reading the titles.
They are incredibly evocative. They blend this very grounded, gritty, street-level language with high-concept sci-fi and spiritual themes. It paints a picture of an artist completely unconstrained by commercial expectations, just broadcasting from his own unique frequency out in Hawaii. It feels incredibly free-spirited and untamed.
Wait, hold on, though. Because the moment you think you have this guy figured out, this free-spirited, psychedelic, Hawaiian one-man band singing about Peyote Blovidi, the sources take a hard left turn.
They really do.
We transition straight from that untamed frequency into a highly rigid, incredibly dry legal document from the American Midwest. How does a guy making abstract dystopian hip-hop end up with corporate filings in Missouri?
That is where the story shifts drastically from art to commerce, and it is a brilliant pivot. What we're looking at is the LLC operations agreement. An LLC, or limited liability company, is a business structure that protects its owners from personal responsibility for its debts or liability.
Right, it's a shield.
Exactly. Think of an operations agreement as the constitution for a business. It dictates exactly how the company is run, how money is handled, and what happens if things go wrong.
And this specific constitution is for Blue Turban Stone Music, LLC. The company was officially formed on June 16, 2020. But the registered agent, the person who officially receives legal documents for the company, isn't Mark Wood in Hawaii?
No, it's not.
It's a man named David Whitt, based in Rock Hill, Missouri, functioning as both the general manager and general counsel.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it shows a profound understanding of the modern creator economy. Independent artists today, especially those generating thousands of pieces of intellectual property, must operate like Wall Street startups to protect themselves.
Makes sense.
By establishing the LLC in Missouri, they're likely taking advantage of centralized, favorable corporate frameworks while clearly separating the creative entity from the business entity.
The details in this contract are mind-boggling when you remember the kind of music it's protecting. It isn't just a handshake agreement. The ownership is explicitly split. Mark Wood owns 75% of the LLC, and David Whitt owns 25%. And for his duties as general manager, Whitt is entitled to a salary consisting of 15% of the company's gross income.
It is incredibly comprehensive. The agreement mandates strict financial controls that you would expect to see in a mid-sized tech firm, not an indie band. For instance, any proposal to a client must include an internal cash flow analysis. Furthermore, it explicitly states that they need to use internal capital minimally. The contract pushes them to utilize credit lines or something called factoring accounts receivable first.
Okay, factoring accounts receivable, that sounds like something out of an accounting textbook. I actually had to look this up because what does that actually mean for a musician?
It's quite clever.
Yeah, it basically means selling your unpaid invoices to a third party for quick cash rather than draining your own savings. Like, let's say Blue Turban Stone licenses a track to a TV show, and the network owes them $10,000, but won't pay for 90 days.
Right, standard industry wait times.
Exactly. So instead of waiting, the LLC can sell that invoice to a factoring company for, say, $9,000 right now to keep the business running. It is a highly sophisticated financial strategy.
It is completely counterintuitive to the starving artist stereotype. And my favorite part of this document, if Mark or David ever do have to dip into their own pockets to fund the band's operations, the LLC doesn't just take the money. It's required to issue them formal promissory notes with a mandated 2% interest rate.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine the guy who just recorded Pimpin' Particle Theory to the Plant Scale sitting down to calculate a 2% yield on a promissory note just because he bought his own guitar strings?
It is a wonderful contradiction. You have the raw art on one side and this airtight, methodical bookkeeping on the other. And it gets even more intensely corporate when it comes to dispute resolution.
Right, I was looking at that too. If the free-spirited artist and the Missouri lawyer disagree, they can't just part ways or break up the band.
Actually, it's even more rigid than that. The contract requires a mandatory executive resolution meeting. They have to formally sit down and hash it out. If that fails, they cannot just sue each other. They have to go to formal mediation under the rules of the American Arbitration Association. And if all else fails, they have both explicitly consented to submit to the jurisdiction of the Circuit Court in St. Louis County, Missouri, for a potential trial by jury.
A literal jury trial in St. Louis County over the assets of a Hawaiian dystopian funk project. It's amazing. But clearly, this corporate blueprint is the heavy armor protecting the art. However, a guy in Hawaii playing 4 instruments and a lawyer in Missouri doing the books still doesn't explain the logistics. How do 2 human beings manage 1,400 songs, global distribution, marketing, and sales without a massive staff?
Which brings us to the final and undoubtedly most futuristic component of this deep dive, the bridge between the prolific artist and the corporate lawyer.
Here's where it gets really interesting. In our stack of sources, there is a live readout from a dashboard titled The Revelation Portal. And let me tell you, this isn't just a static spreadsheet or a basic analytics page. This is described as an AI record label command center. Okay, so there's the dashboard, but what is actually happening here day to day?
What we are looking at is a fully automated, artificial intelligence-driven infrastructure supporting Blue Turban Stone. The dashboard shows 10 autonomous AI agents actively running the business. And what's crucial to note here, there is 0 human intervention shown on this activity stream. The bots are not just assisting, they're doing the heavy lifting autonomously.
That sounds like science fiction. 10 separate AI bots. Let's break down exactly what these bots are doing because their tasks are incredibly specific. For instance, the dashboard lists an A&R scout bot. Traditionally, A&R artists and repertoire is the person at a label who scouts new talent or helps an artist develop their audience. How does a bot hunt for an audience?
It operates through data scraping and pattern recognition. The A&R Scout bot is tasked with talent and listener discovery. According to the dashboard, it is currently scanning 12,847 listeners across 34 different online communities. Its active task is to identify dystopian art collectives.
That's so specific.
It really is. So this AI is combing through Discord servers, Reddit threads, and social media platforms, looking for groups of people who frequently discuss dystopian art, sci-fi, or abstract hip-hop, and it is flagging them as prime targets for Blue Turban Stone's music.
It's literally out on the internet hunting for fans while Mark Wood is presumably asleep or recording more music. And while the A&R bot is finding the audience, I see there's a music marketing agent. What is that one up to?
The music marketing agent takes the data from the A&R Scout and puts it to work. It is currently running 8 active campaigns categorized as genre fusion promotion. It is automatically scheduling social media posts, analyzing engagement rates in real time to see what messaging works best, and pushing the content out to attract reach of over 45,000 people.
That covers the promotion, but making actual money in music usually requires getting your songs into media. I see a licensing agent bot listed here. Is it actively pitching the music to TV shows?
It appears so. The licensing agent is researching TV placement opportunities. The dashboard shows it currently has 8 active licenses and 15 pending. It is tracking $12,000 in revenue generated specifically from these media placements. It is doing the job of a Hollywood sync agent, but it's a block of code.
And it doesn't stop at digital streams and TV. There's an e-commerce agent as well. This bot is tracking 1,247 sales and 68 active orders. It shows $8,500 in direct sales revenue. It's essentially managing the merchandise, ensuring that the digital storefront is running smoothly while tracking the physical logistics.
Furthermore, we see a fan engagement bot. This agent is managing a Discord server of 487 members and an email list of over 3,400 subscribers. Its current task is sending out an exclusive track to that mailing list.
Incredible.
There's also a review and PR agent that automatically updates electronic press kits and manages incoming music reviews, ensuring the band's public image is always current. There is even a content strategy bot plotting out the web calendar.
It's an entire office building full of employees simulated in the cloud. But with all these moving parts, marketing, licensing, merch, who is keeping an eye on the money?
That falls to the revenue optimization agent. This bot has a singular vital job. It ensures that every single dollar generated by the other agents is properly routed directly to a specific PayPal account under the name The Big Island Reporter. It handles the financial funnel. And overseeing all of these bots is the label manager agent. The label manager analyzes the performance of the other 9 bots, identifying bottlenecks and keeping them operating at a staggering 94% efficiency rating.
The scale of the operation is what's truly impressive to me. According to the dashboard, this automated label has tracked a total revenue of $45,500 and managed 125,000 total streams. It has a queue depth of tasks, meaning a backlog of actions it needs to take, that the bots just churn through day and night without ever taking a coffee break.
When you synthesize all of this, what you have is an 11-entity organization. You have 1 human musician providing the raw creative output, and then you have 10 highly specialized, tireless AI bots acting as a global PR firm, an A&R department, a marketing agency, and a merchandising team, all of which is legally overseen by a corporate manager in Missouri, making sure the LLC stays compliant and protected.
It completely redefines the concept of a one-man band, because it's a tech empire built on top of a funk rock project. And I can't get over the framing of this portal. It's not designed to look like a boring, sterile corporate dashboard with gray spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It is heavily stylized with biblical and prophetic language, fitting right in with his dystopian music.
Yes, the portal is literally subtitled Opening the Seals.
Yeah, and it quotes scripture on the interface. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth.
It is a remarkable synthesis of aesthetic and utility. The artist hasn't compromised his vision for the sake of the technology. He has wrapped the technology in his vision. The bots aren't just selling generic music. They're commanded to find dystopian art collectives. The branding, the vibe extends all the way down to the code.
So what does this all mean? When we step back and look at Mark Wood in Hawaii recording 1,400 tracks, David Whitt in Missouri enforcing a strict LLC operating agreement, and the 10 AI agents living in the cloud doing the heavy lifting, what is the big takeaway here?
The primary takeaway is that the landscape of music, and really independent creation as a whole, has radically and irreversibly shifted. For decades, the barrier to entry for any artist was the infrastructure. You needed a massive, expensive recording studio. You needed a traditional record label headquartered in New York or Los Angeles to distribute the physical product. You needed a whole building full of people to handle marketing, PR, licensing, and legal. What Blue Turban Stone proves is that those days are over.
The power is completely decentralized.
Entirely. You can be sitting in Hawaii, producing thousands of tracks of psychedelic dystopian funk on your own terms. You can have a business partner in the Midwest managing the corporate liability through an LLC. And you can deploy a fleet of 10 AI bots to act as your global staff.
It's incredibly empowering, and it really makes you think about your own projects, right? Whatever it is you are passionate about, whether you are writing a novel, creating digital art, coding a new app, or building a small business out of your garage, reflect on how you might apply this level of structural and automated support to your own work. You don't need to do the administrative heavy lifting yourself anymore. You can build your own version of a Revelation portal to handle the logistics, the marketing, and the emails, so you never have to lose your unique creative spark. You can just focus on playing the music.
That is the ideal application of this technology, certainly. It frees the human to be human. But this raises an important question, and it's something I think is worth dwelling on as we look toward the future. Right now, in this current ecosystem, the artificial intelligence is doing the business. It is marketing, it is scouting the fans, it is fulfilling the merch orders, and it is routing the money. It handles the logistics while Mark Wood, the human, plays the actual instruments and writes the songs. But we saw earlier that one of his track titles, sitting right there on streaming platforms, is literally named Kiss the AI Ring or Play Guitar.
Oh, wow. That title hits a lot differently when you realize he employs 10 AI bots to run his life.
It's a highly provocative thought. As these 10 autonomous agents get smarter, as they get better at analyzing exactly what those dystopian art collectives want to hear, and they start predicting exactly what genre fusion promotions get the most clicks, how long will it be until the AI decides it wants to start writing the music, too?
That is a wild, slightly terrifying thought to leave on. The bots moving from the boardroom to the recording studio, taking over the instruments themselves. Well, we will have to wait and see what Blue Turban Stone releases next to find out. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you a whole new perspective on the intersection of art, corporate structure, and the automated future. Catch you next time.